585 Report with Atiana and Bishop. Catch us each and every Sunday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 100.9 WXIR, where we elevate the conversation on Rochester, New York with individuals around the town. So how y'all feeling today?
Great.
Y'all feeling good?
Yeah.
Peter, do me a favor. Shut that door for me. So I'm super excited. Thought we were finishing up our conversation on education, but one more go. Just one more go.
Just one more.
Just one
this
more.
We promise this is the last one. We promise.
Definitely the last show on education, at least for now. And I am excited because I have two of the students who I've worked with for, 3 years now?
Yeah.
3 years in the building. Introduce yourselves, guys.
Peter St. Mark.
All right, Peter.
Zhyree Griggs.
And Bishop, what's going on?
I don't know why I gotta introduce myself every week.
No, you have to introduce yourself this week because we haven't seen you for 2 shows, my guy.
First off, don't put me on blast.
No, I'm
and if
just
they
saying.
paid attention, they would know that I was out of town on business and personal issues.
Quote, unquote.
But I'm here.
Yeah, you're here.
If I was taking a vacation, I would have told y'all. I would have recorded live with y'all from out of town, wherever I was at, if it was personal. If it was a vacation, I definitely would have called in and we would have did like they do in jail.
Bruh.
just put the phone up to the mic and we would have been good. You know what I mean?
I hear you talking, but I'm only talking junk because I need your input on the 585 report. I know I can talk a lot, so people get tired of my voice.
What? I don't think so. Don't y'all like hearing her talk?
Mm-hmm.
Zhyree?
The sarcasm is there. It's
I
there.
was here, like, it's weird. I get on the radio, I can breathe.
The sarcasm
we
is
are,
there.
We are. We definitely like that.
Okay, just make sure y'all speak into the mic. So I'm gonna have y'all tell us a little bit about yourselves. Age, grade, what school you go to, and I guess what you want to do after high school. Zhyree?
I'm 17 years old. I attend the Northeast College Prep, aka Douglas. What I want to do after high school, I want to go to MCC for 2 years, study biology, and then go to a 4-year college since I'm an early grad.
Okay, early grad, another early grad. Peter, what's going on? Tell us about yourself.
I'm 16, in 11th grade, go to Doug, and I don't know what I want to do after high school.
You undecided.
Those are the most successful people. You know that?
Alright, tell us more.
It's a statistic that people who are undecided at the high school end up being more successful than people who got their life planned out for like 10 years at a time. Because if you got your life, the thing, I can't say the exact words, don't quote me on this, but they were talking about how if you plan your life out 5 to 10 years at a time, 10 times out of 10 you're gonna fall off of that track.
Right.
But if you're just like undecided, you're willing to like dibble and dabble into different things that you actually want to do, because when you plan your life out, you say you want to do it, but you're not really fully invested into it. But if you're undecided, you're only gonna do what you really want to do in life.
I don't know.
I'm telling you.
I don't know. I'm the type of person, I like to dibble and dabble with everything. Like, I always got an idea of what I want to do next. Like, and it's always changing. Like, right now, I want to do administration with the district. But years from now, I definitely want to go into law. So I change my mind every week about what I want to do. But as far as this education goes, talk to us. What are your experience with the city school district?
I mean, it's alright. Like, Gear Up has definitely been something good for me since I started 11th grade.
So for those of you who don't know, Gear Up is a college readiness program that is through RIT, and we serve the cohort of 2020. So I've been working with them since they were ninth grade, and we just followed them each year. So you said your experience with Gear Up was good, but as far as everything else, like, what about elementary school for you?
It was way easier than high school. It was so much better.
So
What?
better.
It was way more free time. Like, now I feel like I'm in jail.
So elementary, a better experience, more free time. What about the teachers?
They're okay.
The teachers in elementary versus the teachers in high school.
Teachers in high school more strict. That's it.
You think?
And I think that's.
Do you think the teachers in elementary care? We went straight from elementary. We skipped middle school.
Yeah, because middle school is
Do
definitely.
you think teachers progressed you, or it kind of like started pushing you away from school more the higher you went? Because you say like the teachers are more strict and it's kind of boring or whatnot. Do you think that their focus is really about what you want to do, or just pushing you through the system?
No, it's just pushing us through the system. I already know it.
So yeah. So when you're in high school, well, okay, up until you get to high school, you just pass. You're promoted to the next grade until you get to high school. So that leaves high school teachers in difficult and challenging situations because they can have a classroom full of 20 students, but they're all at different levels academically.
Yep.
So that's where we are. As far as your experience, Peter.
It was always fun.
Always?
Well, except for elementary.
Why? What
I was bad, so.
What made you a bad kid?
I used to throw stuff at teachers, fight you all the time. I was bad.
Why though?
I don't know. It was just a phase.
Well, I'm glad you got out of that phase, because if you would have brought that to gear up, Miss Larkin would have definitely threw something bad. Just JK. Okay, so what I was about to say. So you said some parts of high school have been enjoyable. What parts have been enjoyable for you?
My friends.
Social life?
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
In programs like Europe.
Okay, and that's about it?
Yeah.
Academically, your classes,
Not really.
what's turning y'all off from y'all high school classes?
I don't know.
Teachers,
Yeah,
the work, caseload, what?
The teachers.
It's just too much work for me. Like I mess with my teachers. They cool. Like when I don't be doing my work, they be trying to push me through. But
Okay, so you said, what did you say you want to do ultimately? You want to be a marine biologist or biologist?
just a biologist.
A biologist. So, and you know that comes with a lot of work, right?
Yeah, I know.
So, and you're telling me in high school you don't want to do a lot of work.
Nope.
Alright, so I'm just making sure you're making the connection that it's not gonna get easier
I know
as
it's
you
not.
go further. What have you not enjoyed about your educational experience? What has like turned you off completely?
I don't know.
Nothing?
If you can make school go the way you wanted to go for a week straight, how would your daily school schedule go? Like if you can structure a school program that fits you best daily, how would it go?
What will be the first classes? What will be the type of classes that you'll have?
I want all science classes.
You can't have all science.
I know I can't, but if I could choose, that's what I'll do.
Okay. So
And
science.
have classes that's more like my level, where I can understand it more and just get through my work and pass.
Okay. When you say understand it more, do you feel like you have a hard time understanding what's going on in your classes now?
Some classes, yeah.
Okay. What about you? If you got to make your schedule, your day, structure your day for a whole week straight, what would that look like?
I really don't have any class that I really like that. So
So what would you put in instead?
probably history. I like history.
Okay. Well, I never liked history.
What movie was that?
I don't
I
either.
never liked
I don't
history.
either.
And then they make history something.
Have y'all ever saw the movie Accepted?
No.
It's an older movie. Not that old, but yeah, I'm older, so it's older. Alright, so in this movie Accepted, right? The guy, he barely makes it through high school, and all his friends got accepted to Ohio State, Michigan State, Wichita, Harvard. All his friends with the big schools. What him and another group of friends did, they started a college legally. And throughout these college courses, they didn't have like math, science. They had like real world classes to where it's gonna help you today, not 85 years from now. Like there was no math with letters in it. It was none of that. It was like it was. Yeah. My daughter's 10 and she's telling me that she hates Common Core already, which is terrible. But all their classes in the school that he made up, they dealt with like real life courses that helped you through everyday life right now. And it was kids coming from around the world to get into the school. If y'all can make a class right now that benefits you best, what would it be? A class right now that's gonna help you for today and tomorrow, right now, what would it be?
There gotta be something about like real life stuff, like what we do on a daily. I just can't figure like what to say.
Maybe something like money management.
Yeah, we don't really talk about that. We don't talk about stuff like that in school.
I know Tatiana came in and she was doing like a quiz online. I'm not even sure what class it was, but it started to. So it's, what was it? Everify? What is that? That's a class that you guys take?
No, it's for pig.
Okay. And that was the only time that I saw like tests and quizzes on like real life stuff that students should be learning about. So I guess that's one thing that could be brought to the forefront or could be used in classrooms. Do you feel like what's going on in schools, there are too many distractions? Tell the truth.
Not really, because now that we got our phones taken away, that ain't a distraction. But
so let's talk about that.
Oh, so we never. You just made it sound like it was normal to have your phone.
It is.
We got suspended if we have phones, like straight up, like.
Right. So this year at Northeast was the first time that students had to check in their phones. I think they did it before, but then they did away with it because phones were like turning up missing. But they had to do it again, not only because the phones were becoming a distraction. Douglas is a receivership school, which means they're on the list of schools that need to improve within a certain amount of time. So students have to check their phones in when they come in the morning. So do you think like it eliminated distractions?
Yeah,
A little bit.
to me it did, because I used to be on my phone all the time, but then again, I like to listen to music to help me concentrate more when I do my work, so.
I did better with my phone.
Why?
I don't even know. I don't know why. I just did better. My grades better last year. I don't know if it was just the phone or just the way it is. I don't know why.
So when I think about phones in the classroom, I think about students not paying attention to the teachers, they're on their phones, and then I think about people meeting up to start like drama.
Yeah.
And I think about like, say if somebody is getting into something with someone else, what's the first thing y'all do? What's the first thing that happens if y'all somebody arguing? Somebody pulling out their phone to record it. So don't even act like y'all don't know. Like somebody's pulling out their phone to record it, then fights are recorded, and then those fights go viral,
Yeah.
and then so it was a distraction, really.
I feel like I talk too much now without my phone now.
Talk too much about
Just anywhere. I used to be mad quiet. Like when I was in East, I was quiet when I had my phone, but I talk too much now. Just to everybody when I'm not supposed to be talking in class.
So taking the phones away were like to help you guys focus and to get better grades. And I overheard Mr. Abdul-Mateen today talking, saying that last year they
You
were
still
only
work there?
at Douglas.
Yeah,
Mr. Abdul-Mateen,
yeah.
he's the principal.
He was there when I was there. You know he suspended me 30 times in 1 year, my 6th grade year. I'm not even joking.
What?
Yo, he
You
hated,
were
yo,
what?
Yo.
You were suspended 30 times in 1 year.
No lie. Because they couldn't expel me, so they just kept suspending me.
No, he just came back. He was in retirement actually.
I was about to say.
And they brought him back when the principal that was there left. But he told me last year alone there were over 2,000 incidents regarding phones. Whether it was phones getting stolen, whether it was teachers who were sending kids to the PBR because they weren't paying attention to class. It was just over 2,000 incidents regarding phones. So when you think about that, and this year, the phones have definitely, and I guess the number is different, but the phones have definitely been a distraction. What about like fights and drama? Do you think a lot of conflict has went away because of phones?
No.
Not really.
Why?
Because people still, after school, before school, people still talk, and our school mad little, like, stuff gets around mad quick around that school.
Okay. Cell phones, I mean,
It really don't matter, right?
okay. So like as we're talking about a little bit earlier, there's a lot of programs that were in your school like to keep you out of drama, to keep you like focused, keeping you busy. Which programs other than Gear Up, because you talked about Gear Up, what other programs have been like helpful to you guys?
LPP.
LPP, so LPP is Liberty Partnerships, and what do they do?
It was tutoring. They check up on you, like come into your classroom, see how you doing.
Okay. Alright. And I know for you, you got a job through Hillside, right?
Yeah, Hillside.
So how did the whole getting a job process work for you?
It was easy. You gotta do like a Yetta session.
Okay, and that consisted of what you did in Yetta.
Just talk about how you go through a job interview, what you do at the job, and after that, like 2 weeks later, you get an interview, you get a job.
Okay, so they basically gave you like job skills, trained you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what's up. So Hillside, LPP have both been programs that were helpful to you guys. Any programs you feel like that were helpful?
I'm not, I don't do programs. Like, this is my first year actually getting involved in something.
Well, you were in
9th grade, but that's it. Like, I haven't did Hillside. I don't know no other programs.
And why do you think you weren't involved?
I just didn't go. I just didn't want to do it.
So did I force you to join Hira?
No, I wanted to.
So
To keep my mind, like, on track.
Okay.
So what kind of, you say you didn't do many, but you did that to keep your mind on track. What other programs would you be, well, you're a senior now, right?
Oh, she a junior.
You're a
Well,
junior?
junior/senior.
I'm a
Early
super
grad.
junior, yeah.
Alright. So what other programs do you think you, like, now that you look back on it, if you look any different, what programs do you think, like, dang, I should have joined or I should have looked into? Or if it wasn't any that you were interested in, what type of programs that you think should have been around more to make you more interested?
I wanted to, I should have went to Hillside so I could get a job through there.
What stops you?
I don't know. I just didn't do it. Like, I didn't sign the papers and hand it to them.
That's all it was, you just signed the papers?
But that's like the common thing.
Yeah.
You know how many times I give these kids in the school papers for events and things, and then they don't turn them in, and then
I never turned it in. I lose stuff a lot, so I just never did it.
But with all these programs, why do you think still, like, you know, our graduation rate is like only at 54%? Which I'm saying only at 54%, but it's actually increased, so that's actually improvement from where it has been. But with all of these programs that the district has, what we talked about LPP, Hillside, Gear Up, and I know there's Upward Bound, there's so many other community place, so many programs. Why do you think only half of students are graduating?
Because that's them. Like, they don't want to do it. They just choose not to come to school or just don't want to do their work. That's on them.
what are some other reasons you think students are graduating? Because we know, like, it's just not people that don't want to come to school. Like, we know that when students drop out, sometimes it's not just as simple as, oh, I just don't want to be here. Like, it's legit. There are times where students have to get jobs to help take care of their families, or they might get pregnant, they don't have daycare for their child. There's so many reasons why students drop out of school, but I'm just wondering, like, if we have so many programs, why aren't they graduating? Why aren't students graduating? What are your thoughts, Peter?
They probably just don't know about the programs.
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like me, I'm very visible, but I only had to work with one class. Like, I only had to work with one set of students, 11th graders. So, like, once one person knew me, like, they kind of said, oh, gear up, and then they brought other students. So, maybe it's kind of difficult when you have to concentrate on such a large population. Have you guys ever thought about dropping out?
Yeah.
You thought about dropping out before?
Nah. I'm a good kid. I don't skip nothing. I like school a little bit. It'd be hard sometimes, that's it. But I don't be.
What made you, Peter, what made you think about dropping out? Cause I ain't gonna lie, me coming out of middle school into high school was way too much freedom for me. Like, growing up, I was a suburban kid. High school was the first time, I went to Douglas, but I lived in Spencerport.
Mm-hmm.
High school is when I actually moved into the city with I guess Charlotte is kind of like the city. I was on the border.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to Marshall, and it was way so much free time for me. The teachers was like really laid back. I was terrible my freshman year. I skipped school a lot. I probably had straight F's, if not D's. But I did drop out. I went on to eventually, do better and stuff. But what factors like made you feel like this not for me? Like I shouldn't even be here. I just want to like do whatever I want to do.
The work got harder. Then I started thinking about like credits, regions, taking tests. Just
It was overwhelming.
yeah, basically.
I never understood that regions.
So it's
Like what, 10 points, like 65 and 55.
Only New York got regions though.
Only New York.
Right.
so yeah, regions only matter in New York State and California too. So how many credits do you guys need to graduate?
22.
And how many regents exams?
5.
So you're thinking about, like, I gotta pass these classes in addition to getting all these credits, in addition to making sure I pass 5 regions. And like, you're like, maybe it's too much. But what changed your mind? Because you're obviously still here, still hanging in. You're in 11th grade, almost there. What changed your mind?
My mom, first of all, she wasn't playing that.
Shout out to Miss Candace. But what did she say?
She's like, you need to graduate.
Okay, mom was very encouraging. So we need more moms we need more moms like that, because
My mom wasn't encouraging.
oh, what she
She
said?
got the strap. Straight up.
So it wasn't for me that I ever thought about like dropping out, but I was a mom in high school, so I had my daughter in my 11th grade year, and I won't say I wanted to drop out, but I wanted to be home with her all the time. Like, I didn't want to be at school. I'm like, I'd rather be at home with my daughter. So I guess I would stay home. Like, my attendance was horrible, but I still made it, still graduated, still got a Regis diploma on time. Shout out to me.
As you should.
Right. So what I was saying, we talked about the graduation rate, and half of the students who started with you guys won't graduate with you guys. How does that make you feel?
Sad. That's crazy.
Half of the people you started with in 9th grade will not walk the stage with you.
That's disappointing.
Are any of those your friends?
Have you had friends who dropped out? Or friends who will not, you know, they're there, but they're not gonna make it.
You can speak on it. You don't
have to say
You don't have to
names.
say
I
no
know,
names.
but
We don't
still,
want.
like,
You don't gotta be like, yo, Letitia not making it.
I want to see my friends succeed no matter what.
Right. And as you should want to see your friends succeed. But keep it real. You know, it's people who aren't going to walk across that stage in 2020.
Yeah.
And what do you do to encourage them?
I be trying, like, I be telling them, like, I can help you with your work. We can do stuff together because, you know, I'm tasking and you just on some other junk. Like, I can help you, but they still won't listen. I be trying, but they won't listen.
Peter, are you on any encouragement, or do you?
I don't have no friends that's like not doing it.
Oh, so you don't even like, you saying you don't have failure friends?
Why they gotta be failure?
No.
Man, that's crazy. Wow.
No, I take that back.
That's a pretty big term to put on
I-
a 17, 18, you failure.
No, that's the term that the kids use.
Yeah.
Right, so I'm saying what the kids say. I'm around kids 24/7, so.
I be telling my friends like that, like, girl, you was a failure. Like, what are you doing? Why would you be mad? I raised you better than that.
Right, and you have to be real with your friends. Like, you have to have those conversations. And I feel like if you don't have those real conversations, like, what kind of friend are you, just to let your friend just, like, fall off by the wayside.
Right.
Because ultimately, we know what happens when you don't graduate from high school. People talk about, oh, miss, I know people who graduated from didn't graduate from high school and they make a lot of money, da 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 da. I don't know one.
Right, because you need your high school diploma for a lot of things.
Right, so and there are places that don't even pay a lot that require high school diplomas now. So that's why I at least tell students, like, I understand if you don't want to go to college, but at least finish high school. So why do you think some students are successful and some students aren't? Like, what sets you guys apart from some students?
Your mindset.
What about it? Talk more.
Some students probably got a mindset. It's not for me. This school is just not for me.
Do you think it's a school, or do you just think it's the
work?
It's the work overall?
So I know some people don't have an interest in the work that is in front of them. So I mean, but is that excuse? Is that excuse not to come to school, not to
I
graduate?
don't think it's an excuse. I think it's a reason.
Okay.
Cause I'm not gonna lie, like, I got a bachelor's degree, like 30 credits for my master's that I'm procrastinating on. But it's a lot of stuff I learned in high school that I never ever looked at since I left Marshall. Like, overwhelming, like a lot. Like, it's like the stuff they teach you has no direct effect on anything you're gonna do in the future or the present.
Yeah, I feel like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really do. I be telling teachers all the time, I'm not even gonna use this later.
Yeah, we kind of touched on that the last show, making curriculum culturally relevant, and that's what a lot of teachers are failing to do. They're failing to not only appeal to students of color in our district, they're not making sense of the curriculum so that students know how they can use it in the future. Because if a student today, that's the question, they're like, if I'm not going to be able to use this in the future, then like it doesn't interest me. Like, they have that what's in it for me kind of, attitude.
But I kind of feel them on it though. Like,
I feel them too.
what's the point of me sitting here for however many days out of a year just for you to
45 minutes.
tell me something that I'm never gonna think about or use again? Like, even history class in high school is pointless.
Yeah, because they don't teach us the real stuff. Like, there's way more to it. Like, they be teaching us real stuff, but not like the deep stuff that we really should be knowing.
It just grades it and move to the next chapter.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of like about the access that people have to the internet now, well, it's good and it's bad because the information is out there, but you have to kind of be careful what information is real and what information is not. And back to what makes a child, a student successful over students who are not. You said mindset, and it's also, I think about some students come from families where education is not necessarily valued.
Yeah.
Did you guys have people in your family who went on to go to college? So if you, I know for some, if you have families and they don't necessarily go to college or value education, then that's like a trickle down effect. Like you're like, okay, my mom didn't go to college or my mom didn't graduate high school. What am I gonna do this for? Or you don't have the support of your family.
Right, or friends.
Right.
I feel people, let me rephrase this. I feel most students should at least go to community college for a couple years before they want to transfer to a 4-year school or whatever. Because a lot of times people, it's actually a statistic I can't think of now, I don't want to give out a false number, but a lot of people that leave and go straight to those 4-year universities end up dropping out early.
Right.
Because you get there, you don't know nobody, you're away from home, you're overwhelmed and all this. But if you go to a community college like MTC, GTC, FLCC, or one of those in your surrounding community, you see people that you know. So it's like you're in high school, but you're in college, but you see familiar faces to where that comfort level is still there. And it kind of pushes people to like, okay, I got an associate's, I might as well go get a bachelor's now. So I think people should at least go to community college after high school, at least. And that way, that trend, community college to me, people look at it like it's a bad thing for some reason, but that's literally a transition period for you.
Right.
Because you can go to community college, you can either get a degree, you can get a certificate, you can get a trade, you can do a lot of stuff in the community college, but for some reason, everybody wants to skip that transition phase, and then they end up like, once to a 4-year school, drop out first semester, and then boom, they got the panhandle signs. I mean, the free fall from a 4-year college is deep. It's there. You in debt. Like this is really deep. That 4-year fall from that fall from a 4-year college. So I think community college should be, especially in New York State, how they're making it. What is it? Is it completely free?
Yeah. So the Excelsior Scholarship, there's stipulations to it, of course. But the Excelsior Scholarship, after you get it and you maintain good standing and all of that, and there are certain schools that you can only use, I think it's SUNY or CUNY schools, don't quote me on that. But you have to stay in New York State, I believe, 5 years, because they don't want you to just get the free education and just bounce. You have to stay in New York State for 5 years in order for the school tuition to be free, completely paid for. And when I think about that, like I'm trying to get my daughter to go to a SUNY school or a school, that is less expensive. However, she goes to school out in Webster, and those Webster kids, they're gonna be going to big name schools, and she probably just wants to feel like,
You're coming out of your pocket, fam. I'm telling you now.
Oh, I'm not worried about it, but her first choice, she wants to go to Howard and Fordham, LIU, Pace. Those are her top schools. At least the last 4, they're 3 or whatever, they're in New York State, so it's in-state tuition. But Howard's another story. So I'm trying, but like you said, nothing is wrong with community college. It's very inexpensive. You probably won't have to pay anything, especially for students coming from our district, and it'll allow you an opportunity to get your feet wet. And they have dorms, so I tell students all the time, you'll have that away from home feel because they have dorms.
Stay in the dorms.
Never. I'm staying at home.
Why do you want to stay at home?
You say that now until you be like, I'm tired of being here.
And she was saying that, she was saying, I need my own apartment. I need my own apartment.
I do.
So that'll be your opportunity to get your own
I
apartment.
don't want to be. I'm scared of being in a dorm.
Dorm life is dope. I ain't gonna hold you.
No,
And
Dorm
then you
life
have
is.
friends,
no,
a roommate.
no. I'm scared
You
of
got
being.
freedom. It's like dorms is an apartment. Well, depending on what school you go to.
But
Your dorms is an apartment that you take care of yourself. Like
I don't trust nobody. I don't know how they really is. No. They
That's-
might suffocate me in my sleep.
Oh Lord.
man,
No.
cut it out.
Nope. Oh no. I'd rather stay at home.
Well, I mean, you still got time to change your mind. And if you change your mind, you could always, you know, stay in these dorms. So, how do we get kids to care about school and education? How do you think we get kids to care?
I don't. Just gotta give them some speeches about school.
Lectures?
Oh yeah, like
So a kid gonna take how many lectures I done gave some of y'all?
a lot.
Right, and it's only, I don't think that everyone is receptive to what I have to say.
So there's nothing we can do. Like it's up to them. We can't force you. Like you can't force them. Like it's up
But
to
I think
them.
there's things that can be put in place,
Like what?
like more teachers that look like y'all. Yeah, I feel like if y'all had more teachers of African American descent, that might help.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Why?
I don't think it would.
Yeah, me either. Like
Cause
Do you think it would or not?
no, it just
Think about how you are with your black teachers versus your white teachers.
The only black teacher I got is Miss Thomas.
Speak louder.
The only black teacher I have is Miss Thomas.
So right there we see that representation isn't really there.
But my thing is like this is my thing when it comes to the race thing and teachers and in the city. Yes, I feel like you should have teachers that can relate to the students that live in the inner city, but also I don't feel like your skin color makes you relatable, because it's a lot of teachers of color they just don't care.
Yeah.
I've been here for 15, 20 years. I'm here to collect the check. My pension is coming in 3
Well, I mean,
years,
that's-
and I'm done.
That's white or black teachers.
I feel like we just need more teachers that will help us. I feel like we just need more teachers that will help us more, like push through instead of just teaching. You know, like
Or just giving work.
yeah, like they need to teach us more, or give us opportunities to stay after school or something. Like have a program or something.
So, okay, so you're saying that you need teachers that will.
Do you think that comes from? And I hate that it has to sound like this, but do you think a lot of the gun violence and overall violence comes from the youth that didn't finish school?
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
Because they didn't finish school, they're having a difficult time finding a job, so what's left for them to do? Right. So now they're not finishing school, they're selling drugs and basically living this reckless lifestyle.
Thug life.
Right. What's some other issues that you guys think like that's going on in our community? Major issues. So Rochester is the perfect place to live.
No, heck no.
What?
I hate Rochester
Why I hate?
because it just look bad here. Like, we need more money. That's all I gotta say.
We need more money for what?
To fix stuff, like to bring more like after school things, like have just more fun stuff to do. Like, I done been everywhere in Rochester, and it's getting boring. I need to see something else.
I mean, you have a point because we have really the same things that you can do as far as like either movie, summertime sea breeze,
Right, like.
and like y'all can't get teen clubs. Like when I was younger,
We had teen.
we had teen clubs because we knew how to act.
My mom told me everything about. I wish I lived in y'all day. Like, she be telling me so much stuff, and I just be like, dang, like we can't even do nothing around here without somebody either fighting or getting shot. Like it's sad.
Right, and why do you think that is?
Because these kids just do too much. Like they don't know how to get along. Everybody in drama. Everybody want to fight everybody, and it's gangs too, like West Side, East Side. People just don't know how to act.
Right, and I think about it like the Lilac Festival, y'all get shut down. Seabreeze, now y'all don't you have to have
You
a
gotta
chaperone?
on Saturdays and Sundays.
You gotta have chaperone
Yes.
of
You
Seabreeze?
have to have a chaperone to go to
Because
Seabreeze.
they fought.
And like at the movies, like you can't be there without a parent at
After
certain
9, yeah.
at a certain amount of time. So I just think about things like that and how certain groups of teenagers are like ruining it for teenagers who know how to act.
Right.
And so I think that's always been an issue. And everybody always wants to blame the parents, and parents, of course, they need to take some blame. But at a certain age,
You know what you're doing.
exactly, like where is the accountability for the student? And what are we going to do to make sure that, like, it's not fair to you that you gotta have a chaperone to go basically everywhere and there's
Right.
nothing for you to do. So, how do you fix that? You
Can't. Like, people just do whatever they want. They don't care what their mom say or their dad say. They see somebody that they've been waiting to fight for the longest. They don't know how to act. They just show out. But like, it's other places you can do that at too. You don't have to be in a public place in order to do something to somebody. Like, y'all could link up somewhere else.
right.
Just be willing to put on a show for so everybody can see
Mm-hmm.
and put it on the internet. Like, for real though, Facebook would be the main attraction.
And Facebook is the main attraction, and I'm glad like Facebook and stuff wasn't around when I was in high school.
Well, we got beat up in private. Let me not say we.
Took your L and
People got beat up and you took your L in private. It wasn't publicized around the
Right,
world.
like, can't nobody even lose a fight nowadays. Like,
it's going viral.
yeah.
Like period. Like
I think more people need to get beat up to realize this is not the life you need to be trying to live.
Right.
In my mind, like that came off all types of wrong. I'm not encouraging people to go out and fight and be reckless, but I feel like people need the old school discipline. Like I think
you need kids need whoopings.
I didn't need whoopings, but I was gonna say something else. But due to network restrictions, I can't say certain words.
And you're tuned into 100.9 WXIR, the 585 report with Atiana and Bishop. We are on each and every Sunday at 6 p.m.
But
I'm supposed to say that 3 times and I always forget to say it.
it's okay. But I feel like I don't even want to say students these days, kids these days, period. I think the parents are trying to be friends instead of parents.
Yeah. See, my mom not like that. She don't play. She every time like I be trying to get a snappy at her, she be like, "I'm not your friend. I'm your mom. Like, you gonna respect me."
And that's how it should be.
Yeah, like she.
That's
don't
how it
play.
should be. But I think it's so many parents trying to be their child's friends, and it's like you can't tell people that their child is wrong anymore.
Oh,
they don't want to hear it.
They gonna boss up, like, listen, you cannot let a teacher call home and the kid say, "Mom, I ain't do that." So now the mom believe the student over the teacher. Like, if my teacher wants to call home, like, I didn't even have an opportunity to talk. No, let that teacher talk. My parent didn't take my word over the teacher. So that is something that has changed nowadays. And if you were out in public acting a fool and somebody from the neighborhood
Or they
saw
popped
you,
up.
They could whoop you, right?
Yeah.
That's what my mom told me too.
That's a
yeah,
fact.
they could
That's
whoop
a
you,
fact.
or they could call, your mom and be like, "Oh, your child is acting up," and the parents won't be like, "Well, who is you?"
Right.
or something like that. So
And my mom dared me to try to talk back to somebody who was trying to correct me. Because I was going to get a whooping by that parent that was correcting me. Then I was going to get home and get another whooping.
yeah, there was
Like,
a sense of community.
My community didn't play. When I'm growing up, one thing I can say about my community growing up, all of us went to the same schools. We went to 25 school on Goodman, then we went to Douglas, and then we all separated in high school. But growing up on Keller Street, every parent knew each other. It was everybody just knew each other. So my mother didn't care about the lady that stayed on the corner of Keller and 6th Street putting the belt to me, because she knew she wasn't doing it for no reason.
Right.
Because there was times that Anthony would come down here acting a fool on his bike, and my mom would put the shoe to him.
Right.
So it's like the sense of times is changing when it comes to parents and their kids and other kids and like corrective behaviors and stuff like that. And I think that's a big factor on why kids aren't paying attention to school, why kids are dropping out of school, why kids are doing other things in the streets they normally wouldn't do, because the community, I don't want to say the community is failing them, but
The community is
the
failing.
the parent isn't a lot. Like, I saw this one quote on Facebook and I shared it a couple times, and it said, "The village stopped raising the child when the parent got a problem with it. Once the parent started having a problem with the village correcting their child."
Yeah, and that's a fact. That's definitely
And
a
I
fact.
just feel like if we got back to that, a lot of stuff would change, man. Cause you gotta if you go like on Plymouth or Jefferson or something, you see these old people who just sit on their porch and they watch all this stuff constantly all the time, and they'll say something,
That's how my grandma
and
used to
then
be.
somebody say something smart to them, so they just go by the way. Back in the day, I wish you would disrespect the elder in front of somebody else.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so. I think the communication gap has just gotten too big for somebody to own it back in, and that's where we have all this nonsense going on with the youth these days in school, and gang banging and behaviors and fights, and it just got bad.
It's too much.
What about your community? Is your community like that?
Not at all.
So, I should say it like this. Are your neighbors very close? Do you know your neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel safe to go outside?
Yeah.
Your neighbors will, if you're doing something wrong, your neighbors will correct you?
I wouldn't be doing anything wrong.
What about you, Zai?
Man, my neighbors. No. My mom don't even like my neighbors, first of all.
Okay, so
They
it's not,
rude. Like,
yeah, it's not
yeah, no.
a close-knit community.
Mm-hmm.
So I know for me, I can't even say, like, the place where I grew up, like, from 12 on up, yeah, like, we had this lady next door and a lady and the guy across the street, like that, who still live in those houses. But like Bishop was saying, if there was an issue with me and the way I was acting, you better believe they were going to say something to me. And much like to you, like your point that when I ever tried to like boss up on my mom or get snappy or something like that, like she did not play that. Like her favorite line, like you said, "I'm not your little friend." So yeah, and I think that's because I even deal with it too as a parent. Like I want to be my child's friend, but I know that there's a fine line when it comes to that, because or else we'll end up in situations where you're not respected, and we know how that ends when a child doesn't even respect their own parents. They don't respect no one.
Right.
Like, so we talked about our communities, and we know that Rochester, or do you guys know that, like, Rochester is one of the poorest cities in the country?
Yeah, I know. That's why I want to get out.
What do you think about little old Rochester? Rochester is not even that big. How do you guys feel about little old Rochester being one of the poorest cities in the country?
It's sad. I don't want to live in here. Like, I grew up here and stuff, but I used to live down south. It was way better. It was way more attractive. You could ride your bike wherever without like having no issues.
Why do we think that Rochester is so poor?
Probably because of people in it.
No.
So it kind of goes back to Rochester didn't always used to be poor. We had some big corporations here.
A lot.
And people worked at those corporations and they didn't necessarily have degrees, but they made good money. And those places got closed down. And I dealt with that because both of my parents worked at Kodak.
Yeah, I was about to say, didn't Kodak get closed down?
Yeah.
My grandma used to work there. My mom used to tell me, like, her mom and her dad, they had money.
Right.
Because they used to work and stuff. They both was working, they both was making money, but.
Good money.
Yep.
Like, everybody wanted to have a job at Kodak. And I remember when my dad would get bonuses, he would, like, legit come home making it rain. He would have so much money, and I didn't understand why. Like, now I didn't understand why he didn't put the money in the bank. But we got pictures where he would just have bills all over the bed, like $20 bills and $50 all over the bed when he got his bonuses. And like, Kodak was the place to work, but then Kodak didn't get with the digital wave. And that happens to a lot of companies. Like, you could be here today and gone tomorrow. Think about companies that made the VHS tape. They're no longer, because nobody ever watches VHS tapes anymore. Or what's else, something that's no longer here? Boom boxes, radios. People barely listen to radios. So those companies.
You know what I got at home? I don't know if y'all remember. I know y'all don't remember, but it's like a TV stand, but it has a built-in radio in it. I got one of those at home. I got it from my great-grandmother. And I still got it. And it still works, believe it or not. I don't play it, but it still works. That's dope. They don't make those no more though.
Right, so companies who made things that are no longer here or didn't get with a wave, they're closed down and they had to send employees elsewhere or whatever. So that was Rochester's thing. So there's a lot of places that no longer had those good jobs. So which turned a lot of people to either work in low paying jobs where they can't afford to feed their families or turn into welfare. And when you are on welfare and you get used to it for so long, sometimes people don't get off of it.
Yeah.
Or they pass it down to generations. It's called intergenerational welfare, where, you know, my mom been on welfare, ain't nothing wrong with welfare. And then it just gets passed down and passed down. But why that's a problem is because we have these kids who don't really want to become better.
Yeah. They be like, oh, so I'm still gonna have that and that because my mom wanted it, so.
Right. And they don't want to give up their food stamps. And I'm not by any means saying nothing is wrong with being on public assistance if you have a need for it. My thing is, when it just becomes a cycle for your family, then that's when it kind of becomes a problem. So what are your thoughts about people who are who get assistance or who are on welfare? Like, would you feel embarrassed if you grew up needing to be on welfare?
No.
Why not?
Because I need stuff to survive. Like if I'm doing bad and I really, even though I'm not going to, like I know I'm not gonna do that. I have my own money and stuff, but I mean it's helping me out, so why not? It's free, so why not?
Basically.
It's not free.
How it's not free?
Because taxpayers pay that.
Like,
Well,
somebody paying for
It's
it.
free
Right,
to
but
people
like-
who don't do work. I'm not saying that, like, don't get me wrong. It's people out here who legitimately need that help.
Yeah.
Like, there's really people who need the help, but people don't realize that stuff is temporary assistance.
Mhm.
Like 6 months, maybe a year is pushing it. But to be on it for 6, 7, 8 years at a time, I know people who willingly won't get a job
Because they want to be on welfare.
because welfare kick them off, and that's sad in my book. If like to people who really need it and really struggling, I get it. Do what you gotta do to survive out here.
Right.
But it's people who's on the system and abusing the system that just it's disgusting. I'm not even gonna lie, it's bad.
And he's telling the truth.
Yeah, that is bad.
Like-
Why you not trying to get a job, make your own money just for some food stamps?
Because people have it made. They have their rent paid, they have their food stamps, and that's it. Like, they just like, this is what it is. And they'd rather, depend on that. But I know for me, I don't want the government telling me when I can eat.
Right.
So they can't say, oh, I'm putting this on your car on the 9th, and now I can't wait. I gotta wait till the 9th to feed my family.
They don't get mad when they start getting them boxes of food.
Yeah, because Trump,
Them
he...
Trump boxes, Trump care. Gonna be dropping you off peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Okay, last question before we wrap up. Do you guys think being in poverty is a choice?
It depends.
Depends on what.
On yourself.
Okay.
You make that choice. Like if you just sitting on your butt and not even trying to get a job or nothing, you just choose to do that, then that's you. I mean, it's plenty of programs and stuff that help you get a job and this, that, and the third. So
That's true. Peter, you think being in poverty is a choice?
No.
So people have no choice but to be in poverty? Some people?
Yeah, some people, but not all people.
Okay. So, some people are born into it, and then there's other situations where, like, people lose jobs and they can't get, back to that other place where they were making good money. Or, like, say if there's, like, some health issues that arise and you get sick and you can't work that job,
Right.
so then that kind of forces you into poverty as well. So there's a lot of, moving parts, and it just kind of moves us into our next segment where we're going to be talking to some community members and leaders about what can be done to change the way things are going in the Rochester community. But we're wrapping up. Hours almost done. We thank you guys for coming on the 585 report. I know speaking on air could be a little scary. Bishop,
What's up?
good to have you on the show. I
First
need
off,
your best.
don't-
I need
first
your
off, don't be talking
masculine
to me like I'm a
energy.
guest. Well, good to have you on the show.
I'm just saying I missed you for the last 2 shows. That's all
I'll
I'm
leave
saying.
for 2 weeks and she treated me like I'm a guest. That's cold, man.
Nah, but
That's cold.
thank you guys for tuning in to the 585 report with Atiana Bishop. Catch us next Sunday at 6 p.m. on 100.9 WXIR.
that was fun.